Hi everyone, it's Kat of Kat's Novel Adventures. I am currently reading Tranquility by Tuesday by Laura Vanderkam and also participating in her Tranquility by Tuesday challenge, which started on January the 20th. In today's video, I want to share with you how I did with rule number 1, give yourself a bedtime. Tranquility by Tuesday is all about 9 time management strategies that basically, once implemented, can become good habits that will help you make more time for what you really want to do in your daily life. I was very excited that Laura chose rule number 1 to be give yourself a bedtime, because while I knew it was going to be a tough rule to implement, I also desperately need to have more routine in my life. She chose give yourself a bedtime first because it's important to get enough sleep, and a regular bedtime gives structure to the day. And I could not agree more, because I really, after doing my time tracking journal earlier in January, realized that I need structure. I need more of a morning routine and a routine for working throughout the day. And now apparently I need an evening routine as well. On Friday, January 20th, Laura sent planning questions for us to answer regarding rule number 1. So the first question was, what time would you like to wake up most mornings? I decided I would like to wake up at 6 a.m. Question number 2 was, about how many hours of sleep do you need on an average night? I answered 7 hours of sleep. The third question was, what time do you generally need to be in bed in order to get this amount of sleep? All you had to do was count backwards to the time that you wanted to get up. So that meant I needed to be in bed for 11 p.m. The fourth question was, about how much time do you need before your bedtime to relax and get ready? I figured I only needed about 30 minutes to wind down for the evening. The fifth question was, what might keep you from going to bed at your bedtime? Recently, I've been going to bed late because I'm working a lot on videos for my YouTube channel, mainly editing, creating my thumbnails. I'm having so much fun with it, and I get really involved that I end up staying up way too late. And the final question was, how do you plan to address these challenges? Well, I'm going to be quite honest, I put no idea, because really I have no idea how I'm going to deal with not being able to go to bed on time until I actually get into this week and see what I can do to fix that. Let's take a look at how I did for rule number 1, give yourself a bedtime, for the week of January 20th through January 26th. On Friday, I went to bed at 11:45. Saturday, it was 10:30. Sunday, 10 o'clock. Monday, 11:30. Tuesday, 11:45. Wednesday, 10:05. And Thursday, 11:50. I guess the good news is I made it in bed before midnight. Anyway, there's some good news and bad news about what I did for this week regarding this rule. First of all, I am thrilled that I have continued time tracking. It allowed me to see why I was going to bed that late. Remember, I thought my biggest challenge as to why I couldn't get into bed would be because I was working too late on stuff for my YouTube channel. Well, that is not the truth. And then I also discovered that I need more like 7.5 hours of sleep instead of just 7 hours of sleep. On Thursday, Laura sent us some reflection questions. So I'm going to go over those questions with you and kind of explain what I was doing instead of just working on YouTube videos, which got me into bed late. But if you notice, based on looking at my times, I never got to sleep for 11 o'clock. Either I went to bed much earlier or I went to bed a little bit later. I wouldn't say I went to bed a lot later because at least it was before midnight. I'm going to cut myself some slack with that. Reflection question number 1 is, how did observing a bedtime affect you this week? Well, it affected me because it made me more conscious about trying to keep a bedtime. I actually tried to set an alarm one day or one evening so that I could start winding down. Unfortunately, I ended up being in the middle of something that I didn't want to stop doing and turned the alarm off, and then before you know it, I was 30 minutes past the time that I needed to start winding down. Question number 2 is, what challenges did you face in implementing this week's strategy? Well, I'm going to be kind of funny and say I am the challenge because I was not more disciplined about winding down appropriately. Let's put it that way, and I'll explain that more with the next questions. Instead of actually winding down, getting in bed, and reading before falling asleep, I chose to do other things, and then it just kept me up late. So that's not a good thing. I am my worst enemy when it comes to implementing this rule for sure. Question number 3 is, how did you deal with these challenges? Well, sadly, I didn't deal with the challenge because the challenge was myself, and it wasn't until I reviewed my time logs for prepping for talking about my results that I realized I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, like scrolling, like mindless, effortless fun. Question number 4 is, if you were not able to observe a bedtime, what prevented you from doing so? Well, there was 2 reasons. One reason is that I was participating in effortless fun, basically scrolling on social media, playing trivia crack, or watching YouTube videos until it was time for me to go to sleep. And secondly, I did have a couple of nights that I was working too late on video content. So let me explain which of those nights I was doing what. On Friday night, I showered, by 10:30. And when I got out of the shower from 11 to 11:45, I played on my phone, scrolling through social media. I have that in my time log. On Monday night, I showered around 10:15, and from 10:35 to 11:30, I edited a video. So I was up doing creative work. On Tuesday night, I showered at 8:45, and from 9:15 to 11:45, almost 2 hours, I was either scrolling on social media or watching YouTube videos. No reading, and then went right to bed right after I had all that effortless fun. And then on Thursday night, that is my improv class night. So it takes me an hour to get there, hour to get back. From 6 to 8 is my class. I stayed a few minutes later to talk with my improv friends. I got home, showered at 9:25, and from 9:50 to 11:50, so that was 2 hours, I edited a video. So I was doing more creative work. So out of the 4 nights that I went to bed past my 11 o'clock bedtime, 2 of the nights were working on creative work. The other 2 nights was effortless fun. And I don't want to say it was a waste of time, but actually, when I tell you I only read 1 book in January, for my Goodreads goal or challenges or whatever, just for my daily reading, that's the reason. Because I'm spending more time on effortless fun than on what I should be doing. The next question is, if you needed to modify the rule, how did you do so? Well, I didn't modify the rule. The last question is, how likely are you to continue observing a bedtime? Very likely, because I need to take this rule a little more seriously if I want to have a little more structure in my daily routines. Now, if you recall, I have a friend that's also participating in the Tranquility by Tuesday challenge, and Retro Betty Reads, I'm just going to say Retro Betty, she did better than I did technically as far as getting into bed and going to sleep for a regular time, which was around 10 o'clock for her. Unfortunately, she was having a bout of insomnia, so while she was getting in bed and going to sleep on time, she wasn't sleeping very well throughout the week. She also said her biggest takeaway is how knowing what time she was going to bed each night felt like less of a decision that she had to make during the day, and it helped her with decision fatigue. I'm glad that she was a little better about winding down and doing what she needed to do to give herself a bedtime and stick with it. So hopefully her bout of insomnia has passed and she's doing much better with her sleeping schedule. Going forward with rule number 1, I need to readjust what I'm doing in order for this to be successful. So I have some readjustment strategies here. And the first one is, since I need 7.5 hours of sleep, I need to readjust the time that I'm going to sleep. And that means I'm winding down 30 minutes earlier. So my new bedtime is going to be 10:30. I'm going to start winding down at 10 o'clock. So that way I can get up for 6 o'clock in the morning. The second thing that I need to readjust is I need to be more intentional about my winding down time. I really do think the alarm will work, but instead of setting it at the exact time I need to start winding down, I need to set my timer for 15 minutes prior to that. That alarm goes off, it tells me wrap it up, start the transition, which brings me to the next way I need to adjust this, and that is have a transition. I need to come up with a way to transition from whatever I'm doing into my winding down state before going to sleep. How do you wind down, or how do you transition from what you were doing to going into sleep mode? Please leave me some comments about that, because that is the one thing I am having a hard time trying to figure out how to do that. And then the last thing is basically putting that phone away. When that alarm goes off, I turn that alarm off, and then I set it on my charger, and I should not look at my phone again until the next day, because I find once I pick that phone up and I happen to see any kind of a notification, I'm drawn to it, and then the next thing you know, 30 minutes have passed, 45 minutes have passed, and I'm not in bed when I'm supposed to be. I mean, I really want to be in bed and reading before I go to sleep. It really does relax me more to read before I actually fall asleep. So anyway, any suggestions you have, believe me, I would appreciate. Rule number 2 is to plan on Fridays. That will be the next rule that I will be, I guess, implementing or trying out. She does have some planning questions for this, and they are, what does your planning look like now? Number 2, this rule is about creating a designated weekly planning time. When approximately can you schedule a planning time into your life? If you are planning to use Fridays, when on Friday generally works? Number 3, how much time do you think it will take to plan the week? Number 4, what benefits do you think you would see, or do you see, from a designated weekly planning time? Number 5, what obstacles might keep you from a regular planning practice? And the final question is, how can you address these challenges? Laura's a big advocate for planning on Fridays, and she says it only takes about 20 minutes to do that. So we'll see how well I do with rule number 2. Thanks everyone for stopping by. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos, especially when I'm doing some of these projects that I've gotten myself involved in. I really am enjoying the book Tranquility by Tuesday, as well as participating in this challenge. I'm looking forward to improving giving myself a bedtime, as well as taking on the next challenge, which is rule number 2, to plan on Fridays. I hope that you are doing well and that you're being a good steward with your time. If you have any suggestions, or if you're also participating in the Tranquility by Tuesday challenge with me and Retro Betty, please leave comments below and let me know what you're doing or what you think about it. In the meantime, stay amazing and be adventurous.